Hi, Matt. I was looking forward to talking to you.
It was so clear to me that this is just about basically one person talking to another.
We all have the same excitements, passion, demons, procrastination.
I've been cursed and blessed with an overactive imagination.
MattLees Gets Creative contains themes and subjects that may not be suitable for everyone listening. If you're easily offended, we suggest that you get your podcast on elsewhere.
Right here, right now, on MattLees Gets Creative.
I would go out and sit on those electrical green boxes in front of the houses. Back in the day, those humming little green things that I probably shouldn't have sat on. Yeah. And I would just sit there with like a beer or coffee or whatever, and I would play as late as I could until, yeah. I mean, people on my neighborhood street knew me as the kid that sat outside and played guitar every night.
Every week on this show, I get to talk to incredible artists, and I'm so grateful. But once in a while, I get to talk to an artist that I know in real life, or somebody that I've shared the stage with. And this week, it's Juno-nominated slide guitar hero Sean Pinchin from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. His music is available on all digital platforms, as is this podcast, so download his tunes, leave a review for us wherever you're listening to this, and thanks for listening.
Told me, boy, just do the best that you can. She used to say, boy, it's gonna work out in the end. Don't worry about bad things. It'll work out in the end.
Hi there. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. Let me just put you on headphones.
No problem.
Second. All right, cool. All right. You hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Perfect.
Let me just put these stupid old... You know when you have like iPhone earplugs?
Yeah.
And they just become one?
Yep. Story of my life. I've spent more of my life that I'm going to admit to you unraveling headphones, sir. when I shouldn't be doing things I was getting paid for, you know.
Oh shit! Well, it's funny. I just sat here and we now in Toronto you can buy like good, you can buy like pot illegally now, so they have it like you can buy like the proper stuff. So whenever I smoke sativa, which is a very energizing, concentrating thing, I always end up doing like organizing. I just organize a third of my taxes for next year.
Yeah, it's that wonderful thing, isn't it? Because I'll tell you, I do the same, and I clear up my I have a shelf with like retro toys on it and stuff. And
oh yeah,
it must be when those sativas are in town that it's go time, and I'm just like, right, the real Ghostbusters need to be on the top left shelf. What was I thinking?
Yeah,
and of course the wrestlers need to be bottom right. I mean, that's an idiotic move. I don't understand why I did that for. And you know, that must be a combination of both the mindset that you and I have predetermined already, and then something that the sativa just kind of goes, the door's open, my friend.
Proper medication is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a huge part. I mean, we jumped right in, which is amazing because I do like a formal radio guy intro, and then I just kind of bring the conversation in naturally. So that's already happened. So I love that we're already just jamming with each other.
Wicked.
Now,
do you collect Dino Riders is my question for you.
No, I do not at this time. The current lineup for me is definitely real Ghostbusters. Goonies, but there's not much Goonies out there.
Nothing.
Back to the Future.
Awesome.
I collect a lot of wrestling too, but only in the old school sense because when I was a kid,
totally
I loved wrestling, loved it. But This
Ultimate Warrior, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But this modern stuff, I literally don't watch it anymore because it was more like I was with a girlfriend I didn't like, and I just forced myself to sit through it, and I was like, no more. But I collect the old retro wrestlers, pull the arm back and he punches the dude in the face and those things.
Rubber wrestlers. You stick them on your, remember thumb wrestlers?
I remember all of them, and that's, I got my wall behind me is covered in wrestling toys still in the box, that I put on the wall. It's just one of those things, man, that it's that obsessive thing.
Well, you've inspired me.
There you go.
Inspired.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that because you've inspired me. Because if I may for a moment, you and I crossed paths, must have been 2007 era because you gave me that record on CD,
Yeah.
That's right.
Jeez, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right, you kids out there. This man handed a CD, a compact disc containing his music to another man, hand in hand, at a venue that they were playing a gig at. That's how we used to do things. It wasn't Dropbox and emails and tweets.
It was a personal thing when you left with somebody's heart in your pocket.
Oh, definitely. And especially for me at that era and that place, which is, it's going to be like a mystical creature. It's going to be like my Narnia of this podcast project because it keeps coming up, and that's the Boathouse,
Yeah.
And the Boathouse of that era, and people always say like, back in my day, but no, listen, folks, literally, back in my day, in 2007, that era, that Boathouse was just an unbelievable place for artists, for musicians, for people to be inspired by each other, which you, of course, did for me back then, and you did again most recently when I was listening through and catching up with all your music, because you could say I'm old school, Sean Pinchin, because I'm Not My Baby and Robin's Nest, like those are the tunes I remember.
Wow.
I remember singing along to those, so you playing those, and me never hearing somebody with that style before, that slide guitar and everything, and it was just unbelievable. And then I listened to your most recent stuff. Go ahead, please.
The new recent stuff is like the closest I've been to that style in a long time, and it still sounds nothing like.
Well, the way I heard it was, I'm listening to both, and the way the sound for me was like it was you grown up. Like this was just a grown up guy that I knew in 2007, with the solo guitar tracks mostly, but now it's full band with a really live sound, and I really, really enjoyed the new stuff. So I was really happy to hear it. But yeah, as I say, I'm old school, Sean Pinchin. When we used to, I think there was a period where you may have played like every Thursday at the Boathouse. Or something like that.
I think I did a Thursday or a Sunday. I did there was a bunch of residencies.
Yeah, and I remember opening for you on a couple of those and just having a real riot. A lot of fun. We played a lot of those stages.
You got to get Kevin Doyle a shout out because he's the one who organized all that.
Oh, I know, absolutely. I mean, I messaged when I spoke to him a little while ago. I told him with no irony that he changed my life, and I meant that, because he did. He the place that he created or allowed us to be in, was just unbelievable. It was my college years as a musician and as an artist. That's for sure.
For sure.
So if we start at the beginning, I always like to start at the beginning, as cheesy as it is. It sounds great on podcasts and radio. Where did it start for you as far as the inspiration and the music that first kind of lit you up and gave you that feeling of that's what I want to do, that's what I need to do? Do you remember one moment?
Well, I just like music. My parents were always listening to something. So when we go on trips with the family, I'd sit in the back and hear old. Like my dad listened to 1050 Chum or 1150, whatever, oldies 1150, and it was just classic golden era rock and roll, 50 stuff. Every now and then a Doors tune, but pretty clean stuff. So I always liked that. And then, when I grew up down the street, I had a friend whose father collected records, so he was always showing me things when Michael Jackson's Bad album came out, I was familiar with that, and I was familiar with one or two of the Madonna records because my friend was a girl, so we both when you're that age, it doesn't matter what, you just like whatever's current. So and my sister was big into music, she would pump 80s and 90s retro stuff all the time. I'm the youngest of three. My brother's into hip hop. My dad's into jazz. My mom's kind of into everything. She supports my music. I know probably the most and the longest in my family, but.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of in there. Everyone plays music in my family. I think it's just more of a personality trait that I grabbed onto it and decided to just keep doing it.
Yeah, because you really, you have that. You have something that I definitely wish I had, which is that graft. I think they call it. You set a goal out for yourself. You maintain it. You aim for it.
Yeah.
And I heard your recent podcast on the blues the Talkin' Blues podcast.
Talkin' Blues.
And you know, there was a real aura of like sacrifice in your story as you were telling it, because you kind of accepted at one point that you were going to have to give up a lot. You weren't going to maintain you weren't going to be able to obtain certain things that people may look at and say that's what you do in a normal life, you know. But because your love and your art is music, and I love that you used the word a curse when you were talking about some of it as well, that creativity, that passion, because that's the other thing that comes up when I talk to artists, be it writers, actors, whatever it is. It's a gift and a curse, and you know all about that. I mean, you can talk a little bit about that because, you know, you said yourself you've left relationships, or you used to hide out in school, which is what I used to do. I used to skip school and go to the radio room and pretend to be a radio announcer because that's what I was going to do. I wasn't going to do math or home or history.
Well, as soon as I was 18, I figured I could sign out of school, so I started just figuring out my parents' schedule and trying to avoid contacting them. And I would go home early, and you know, to this day, I know I have enough credits in school, but I've never seen the diploma, so like it was a long haul. I just found ways to play. My dad was always going to bed early because he woke up early in the morning, so I would go out and sit on those electrical green boxes in front of the houses. Back in the day, those humming little green things that I probably shouldn't have sat on, and I would just sit there with like a beer or a coffee or whatever, and I would play as late as I could until, you know, and so, I mean, people on my neighborhood street knew me as the kid that sat outside and played guitar every night. So it was kind of okay. But, you know, like when I lived in buildings and stuff, people would always bitch and complain. So I'd go into the laundry rooms. I'd find like a hallway. I once got a guy complained from the third floor, and I was in the basement hallway. He said he could hear the bass of my acoustic guitar. I was like, how the hell do you hear the bass? Yeah. But I guess it reverberated just the, you know, so I don't know. So definitely, like, even just practicing can be a pain in the ass. But I mean, thankfully I've been doing it for so long that like, I'm pretty comfortable. I know my body now. I mean, now it's about maintaining. There's so many people that I know of right now that are dealing with injuries just from getting older and playing. And I'm like very lucky. I'm actually going to be taking a little bit of a break for the first time ever in my life from performing in September. So I haven't really announced anywhere yet that I'm doing that, except to like the place where I'm going to be working. But just, you know, to subsidize my lack of income. But I'm going to be taking some time off to the year of this release just to kind of give my mind and my body a break. I feel like there's no better time now than the year I released a record. Yeah. It's probably the last time I'll be able to get a Factor grant. They just cut $8 million out of a $15 million budget. So that's more than half. And, you know, like I've already gotten two in the last, well, I've gotten 3 grants in the last 6 years. 2 of them were album grants. Like, I almost feel like I'm good for competing for that. Like, I don't really want to, there's a lot of younger people that could use that. And, you know, so I might be going very much back to that Sean Pinchin you once knew. Acoustic singer-songwriter, cheap. But I'll be putting it online, to be straight up. It might even be the most inexpensive. I think that's the new rebellion. It's going to be the most inexpensive lo-fi way of doing things.
Oh yeah, man.
You just got to sound good.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like, we always talk about change, especially for like artists or musicians specifically. Like, the technology has changed so much. I mean, back in that 2007 days, you know, I had a couple of songs of my own that I really enjoyed, but I didn't have the capability to lay those down to record them and to get them out. You know, I didn't have the money. You know, but these days I have a mixer, you have an iPad, you have a guitar and a laptop, and I'm currently planning on releasing songs. We just released one last Friday on Spotify, actually, an old blues.
Congratulations, man.
I mean, and thank you. And I don't think people understand like how much it means for when you finally get that part of it done. Because if they're not a musician or they don't bleed for it, they're like, well, you put a song on Spotify. Good for you, man. Couldn't I do that? And you're like, well, you could, but come on.
Well, I'm proud. I look at my iTunes thing, and it'll be like 7 titles there now. I mean, the first 3 are kind of like, I don't play any of those songs, and if I did, I would probably rewrite the lyrics to make a little bit more sense grammatically. I'm a little smarter. I would also make them a little less self-indulgent, like a little less about me feeling sorry for myself, and a little bit more me. Like it's a weird evolution, but like I still enjoy the fact that they're there, because if you don't know anything about me, then you're getting the truth. But by the time you get to Rust Bucket, it's like, oh. And then, like, I don't know, the last 6 years have really just flown by. I can't believe that I'm very, very fortunate that I did it. It was hard, and if I had to do it again, I don't know if I would do 3 records. The last 1.5 have been very hard on me. Even though one of them got, nominated for a Juno, it doesn't really matter always. It's like sometimes your health is more important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's.
I'm going to be.
Please.
Oh no! I'm going to be like, I'm only 38 now, but it's like, I was 21 at one point.
Yeah.
Doing this same thing.
Yeah. I mean, for myself personally, I took a long time off because I never had the graft part. And then at a certain point I lost the passion, right? And then when that happens and you think of it like as a job and you're playing a cover gig on a Thursday and a Friday, then that's no different than just having a job, And it's very hard to talk about it and be like, well, I really hate it and I was resenting myself.
Well, the grass is definitely always greener,
Yeah, because people are like, oh, shut up. You're singing Ed Sheeran songs in a bar and making like $60. Good for you, Junior. And you're like, listen, you just have no idea. So
my hands hurt, my back's sore,
right?
My throat hurts. And after 3 sets, I'm like, worried that I'm injuring myself. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then I go home. I might make a bit of profit after I pay for gas and food and guitar strings and all the other shit I have to pay for that you guys don't think about. And I fell out of love with it. So that was me. I took a long time off. And then most recently in the last few years, I was very sick. And after coming through all that, I thought, you know what? I used to love the fuck out of writing songs and just playing and releasing stuff. So I'm going to do that. So now I can just
record. Now you can. The technology is kind of working.
Yeah, we have a Dropbox folder. That's how I'm making an album now. I made fun of kids earlier with a Dropbox folder. I am literally making a rock blues album, full band, in a Dropbox folder. If you would have told 2007 Boathouse MattLees that, he would have called you a liar.
Anybody would have been like, well, we didn't even really have like the iPhone full. Well, maybe we did. I didn't. I didn't have an iPhone.
No, I certainly didn't either.
Razor.
Yeah, we were musicians. You and I both probably had flip phones. I know how it is. So you go through that entire thing. Now, what about the actual recording process? Because you always are very open about like the anxiety and the pressure you put on yourself.
I hired Rob Zabo to help me with that. So, like, he took a lot of the bullshit off the last 3 years. I mean, it's still stressful, but when you're working with somebody that can co-write and engineer, well, I don't know what that is. Like, someone who can co-write and help sort of organize your thoughts a little bit more. So you come at him with all these ideas, and he just sort of says, okay, yeah, let's put them in place. And basically, he just helps me lay down a game plan before we go recording. So it's like a year and a bit of pre-production. And by the time we hit the studio, like the songs are very, very specific, the parts we have to do. And often it'll be like, I'll only know a few parts that I'm going to play. And then we line up the drums and the bass, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, there's a whole different song now. And then we got to like add different things. So like, it gets a little, I haven't actually done a record by myself in a while. So I'm looking forward to trying to make a record that's better than my first 4, but keeps up with what I did with Rob, because Rob's one of the best guys I've ever worked with. He's just so pro and so tactful. He takes whatever I give him and he can help me turn it into a song. It's a beautiful thing. Like I can't do that on my best day. I just come up with stuff and then forget about it.
Right. Yeah.
So maintaining and it's just experience. So who knows? I'm excited to get working on a new record. I'm already writing for the next one. It's funny, I'm not really paying attention to the new one, and it's only a month old.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's kind of like a baby, right? In a sense of like you gave birth to it, and then you're like, okay, cool, move on. Much like a writer does with his book or a director does with his movie.
Kind of got to grow into a person, I guess, before I even,
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, we put so much of ourselves into putting a song out there, right? And you kind of you torture over every like moment and every beat and every sound and every sample of every song. So I guess it's very important to have collaborators and to be able to trust them, because
trust. That's the word.
Yeah, but the experience is also, because I remember back then winning at the Boathouse at an open mic. I won like a 4-hour studio session, right? And I had this tune, Lois Lane, and I thought, I'm going in with this song. We're gonna lay it down. It's easy. I'll just sing it. They'll play it, and then we'll come out with it. And I'm just a young kid at that time with no experience. Get in the studio. Everybody's got ideas. Everybody's got concept. Everybody wants to go in a different direction. And I was dizzy. And to this day, I hate the sample we recorded. Thus, it's never been released anywhere because I hated it, because that's not how I envisioned the song. I just kind of lost track of the path and kind of
Yeah, you got to have a guy.
Yeah.
You got to know perspective, mixing. Like, there's technique involved with making something sound like something that might not really make any sense to you until you do it, you know?
Yeah.
It's a weird way to explain, but we've done so many tracking methods and like ways of separating parts. Like Rob will hear something and go, okay, yeah, I hear the riff, but play it this way and then don't do that. I'll be like, why? It doesn't work. And he'll be like, trust me. And then we'll lay another part over top with just that other piece, and it, for the mix, works perfect.
Yeah.
While I'm playing live, I would never do it, and it just becomes this whole other thing. But like, you know, it just gets a little bit of that necessary confusion out of the way, because there's so much that other people just don't pick up on.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have a little filter.
Yeah, because when you're trying to create a song, or even, I imagine creating anything, you're almost trying to catch it in a stream, right? And you're just trying to like put all the pieces in place as they're shooting by you. So having some people to collaborate with is so important. I mean, I'm releasing another song this Friday on Spotify again, and it's from that era of 2009, 2010 recorded with Jay Welsh and Wayne Bond. Now, I wrote the song originally on a little old acoustic, you know, kind of envisioned it like as if like a Charity Brown would sing it. You may have crossed her path with those Boathouse days as well.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah,
Geez.
played it for Jay Walsh, and I think his exact words were, "It's nice, but can we put some balls on it?" And if you hear the actual arrangement now, and the actual release is very much like rock blues with screaming guitar by Jay Walsh, and I'm not playing on it at all. I'm only singing, and I'm perfectly fine with that, because I took that trust moment of like, okay, you guys take the idea I have, you drive it, and it was completely different. So is there a moment you've taken something to Zabo, and then by the end it's something completely different, almost a completely different song, as it were?
Probably all of them.
Yeah.
Like every single one, except for like the cover song, River. Nah, even that one. Shit. Yeah, every single song from every album. I would say the only album that turned out sort of like I thought it would be Rust Bucket. Because I wrote a few of those tunes myself, but that was recorded live off the floor. Everything else we tracked guitar separately. Mm-hmm. So that's why the guitars sound huge. There's a lot of guitars. But no, I got to be honest. Rob's a little bit. I got to give Rob credit for some of this stuff. He sees further than I do. I'm just like a stubborn mule, just kicking up dirt half the time. It's kind of a weird forest for the trees scenario where, you know, I feel like he's more guided in that regard. Like, maybe like the Justice League. You know, you got to have two ends of that. But
yeah,
yin yang. That'd be better. The yin yang.
Yeah, you got to have Batman and Superman. I'm with you. You know.
Yeah, you got to have both guys.
We'll head right back to our conversation. I know. We all hate ads on our podcasts, but indulge me, if you will, just for a moment. Here at MLGC, we've started a patron program, but it's not like many of the other programs that you hear about, and that's for one special reason. And that reason is, it's all for a great cause. See, during Season 1, we donated half of all our patron donations to the Velindre Cancer Centre right here in South Wales. It's a fantastic hospital run by amazing people that are saving lives every day, including my own. For Season 2, we wanted to step things up, so I'm glad to let you know that from here on out, we're donating 100%. That's each and every penny we receive through our kind supporters to the Velindre Cancer Centre. Sure, we could use the funds towards the cost of running a show, but we wanted to do more with your kind donations, so we're paying it forward. If you'd like to help out, you can join the Creative Club, and it's $5 a month. You get access to exclusive episodes, a chance to submit questions in advance for upcoming guests, and you'll have the knowledge that you're helping me help others. I know everyone can't afford to donate to every cause, no matter how worthy they are. But if you are looking to spread some love, like our dear friend and supporter, the patron saint of podcasters, Librarian Kate, then we'd love to have you be a part of it. Check it out at patron.podbean.com/MattLees Gets Creative. That's patron.podbean.com/MattLees Gets Creative. Join the Creative Club and help us battle cancer one podcast at a time. I just came up with that last part on the fly. That's pretty good. Now, if I remember, Folklore, for example, the CD you had given me, that would have been recorded mostly live off the floor. Is that how that was done back then?
That was recorded in like a bathroom, in like a kitchen, the backyard. That was all like done by my buddy Peter Grant.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, how different is the experience then from Folklore of 2007 and then Bad Things in 2019? The actual production process, how different is that thing now, and the amount of stuff you had to do for it and put into it?
Well, I didn't really put any production into Folklore at all. We just went in and recorded live, and anytime I felt comfortable, it was fine. And we had my friend mix it and master it. And that was it. But everything else since then has been, I have a guy who mixes, and then I have a guy who does editing, and then I have another guy who masters it. So like, it was layered this time. Like different people did different things, because I decided, like, if you have one guy editing and then one guy mixing and then one guy mastering, it's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But you get three perspectives, so three guys come out liking one thing. That's a good thing. That's a good sign. That means there's a good chance more people will. But if you just have the same dude do it all, it can still be good, but it's one dimensional, and you're only pleasing one sonic headspace. I don't know. You got to give up so much of that. You got to give up so much individuality when it comes to releasing things. Just let it be. Personality is for like the player. I think people as a mass will always unify and simplify things. So like, even if you had like a hit song, I mean, it's basically it dumbs down to some degree what you're doing. Like it always does, just to work with people. Cause maybe this is a whole other conversation, but still.
No,
you know what I mean? I just see it, and I don't know. So God bless producers.
Yeah, I mean, because Bad Things, aside from being really awesome tunes, sounds great. Like, it sounds phenomenal, right?
We didn't use any real ampage, too, for that. We used a lot of, like, mods and, like, a lot of, like, we used the two pre's and all that stuff, but a lot of the acoustic guitars were just going through, like, simulations and stuff so that we could really play with the rooms. So it was different, because I used acoustic guitar, resonator guitar, lap style guitar, and electric guitar, which I'd never done before in one. It's usually one or the other, but this was like, let's just throw them all at it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds big, and it's some of the guitar tones, aside from the difference in style, of course, for me had some like Oasis rings to it, just big, definitely. Ballsy guitars, Yeah,
that would be like probably my Gibson and my Epiphone. Like I have a hankering for like thick strings on all my guitars, so I got to be honest, it'll make it sound big. And that's the secret to a good guitar tone. You put 13s on your electric guitar and make it happen. It's going to work.
Yeah. And you crackled there for just a moment, and it sounded like you said something really beautiful.
I said if you put 13s on your electric guitar and just give her and make it work, it will sound beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing you play shows at one of the Firkins, oh God, yeah. And I remember I bust tables there for a while, and I quit in a really fun way. But that's neither here nor there. I remember watching you shows like that. So, do you still do shows like that, or do you kind of try to keep yourself more intimate than that? And you know what I mean by intimate, because it has nothing to do with crowd size.
Yeah. Lately, I've been doing everything, man. It's not been a clean sweep. I've been really trying to get myself into playing more of a seater, like more seated concert style venues. But 90% of my work right now is like pubs or breweries or private events or this, that, and the other. Some festival stuff, like I've been doing so many of the same festivals for so many years. It does get a little weird. And, it's harder to travel and all this stuff. There's just so many different forces that you have to keep up and compete with that. I don't know. Making a living's been kind of a bummer playing music lately. Like, and I think a lot of people feel that. Mm-hmm. It used to be a little, never a better paying job. It always seems to pay the same. Even the good gigs, they tend to cap off at some point, but, you got to do it for a whole different reason of that. And, I mean, even still taking a break, a lot of people do that, and bands break up, and I mean, even the best bands, some of the most successful musicians that you can think of, or have committed suicide, and or have ended up bankrupt, or have nothing. Or you see walking down the street, you know, drinking a coffee, you know, from like a convenience store, and you're like, "What? He lives down here too?" And it's like, you know, you're in Sarnia. I'm not picking on Sarnia, but I might be. But it's like, you know, it's one of those things where it's just, I don't know. It's a bigger world out there. Nothing's what it seems, and I don't think anybody's really benefiting financially. There's some good deals going down, but not enough of them. And I don't know. I've done like 250,000 shows a year for the last little while, and I can say honestly, like it doesn't seem to. It's like an ocean. You're going to have waves. I mean, if you can't prepare for these huge waves and these divots, I mean, there are people that I know that run bands that know when the high points are in the year, and they've set up a business model that works for that. And that's really smart. But, you know, I never really figured that out until recently. And it's like, so, you know, I'm pretty good at I know where I'm at financially and stuff. And so if you really want to make good records, you're going to have to bleed a bit from your eye and your heart and your ears to do it. And you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of income. And I honestly think that if you had a job on the side and you wanted to make good art, it'd be easier on people. But I don't know. I feel like it's a new time. We need a new revolution, I guess. Like MySpace revolution was one. You remember people were just getting those MySpace players, and that was it. You had songs on MySpace. You could get gigs. Now it's like, man, you need like a YouTube video and like Instagram meme catalog, and you need 1,000K on something. It's like, yeah, it's an interesting scenario. I think we need a new, like, what else are we going to do? Low budget guys are going to get together and start sharing their recordings on a new format. Who knows? Who knows what the future is? There might not be any money involved in it. But when they slash $8 million from a music campaign in the province of Ontario, it tells you that, like, you know, time's kind of running out for that. So we need to find a new. I'm not saying the art's ever going to truly disappear. It's just going to change, like anything else. Yeah, this just could be a really interesting time to be an authentic musician. So who knows? I'm kind of inspired by it. Music. Personally, feels the best right now than ever.
Yeah,
but gigs aren't that much fun anymore. I find because people, you know, there's a lot of people out there and playing in big cities. You don't have like-minded folks playing in buildings or hanging out in the same venue. Like, who wants to listen to music? Who doesn't? Like, you're going to have a mix of everybody. So.
Yeah,
and you can't expect everybody to care.
No, it's not the Boathouse of 2007.
Yeah, Boathouse. I mean, even Toronto. I live in Toronto now, and it's like it's just one of the best places anymore. And if they did, they're like changing. And I mean, like, and it's no fault. It's just growth, right?
Yeah.
There's always a fringe society or a fringe town out there that's still rocking, you know, a small hole-in-the-wall style place that does well, and you can bleed from your heart there. And, but, you know, if you want to make $200 and up, you got to play with a TV above your head.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to, and you got to, you know, you got to figure out to have a show. I mean, I can do those gigs. I sometimes wonder about them now as I'm older.
Yeah. I mean, when I first moved back from Canada to the UK, I was straight off of playing all the time, so I wanted to kind of keep with it, or I thought this is before I kind of stopped playing for a long time. It was because I got back, had like what they call an agent, you know, booking me in bars and pubs. But it was like you said, I'm under a TV. People just kind of yell things at you of songs they want you to play. They don't really want.
I don't take being yelled at all. I yell back, and it's just a fucking problem.
Yeah, of course I do. And please note that I said I had an agent once for a bit, because that doesn't compute well, you know, because I'm not a jukebox, right? So I realize if I can do this 2-3 times a week, these exact under the TV gigs, I won't have to get a job. However, I would fucking hate to do this 3 times a week, so I'm not going to do that. So it sort of leads to you not.
And those other days have to be like, you can't have any shit go down on those other days. God forbid your car breaks down, or the guitar needs a reset, or your PA doesn't work, or you get sick. like it just because you're always on that like leverage line. I've worked both ends of it. It takes a lot of skill to navigate. I mean, and you can do it. I mean, it's totally plausible. It's just you got to live within your means.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know what it's like in the UK. Canada's not easy. People do it. They always try to do it in the mountains for some reason. I don't know why. But
yeah.
I mean, the Southern GTA is like, there's so many gigs down here. I mean, if you're going to be in Canada playing bars, Southern Ontario is like.
Yeah. It felt like it always was for me. And I know it's that like grass is always greener or the dreamland, but that when I lived there, I felt like the gigs were better and more fruitful than ever. Here in the UK, here in the UK, it's like they want you with a suit on, a karaoke machine, and they want you singing Frank Sinatra. And that's legit. That's what the bars are booking.
That's hilarious.
And I'm like, well, I'll just go get a job then because I'm not going to do that, right? Like, no.
Yeah. Jeez.
Hurtful, but so now I'm happy that I can just record music, release it digitally online. I don't have to deal with any bar owners or anything like that. I don't have to get shouted at or it's just one of those things. So now I'm happy to play from home, but I do certainly miss the stage and performing in front of a crowd because when you get a crowd that wants to hear you, that's like that drug, isn't it? That's that buzz.
Well, I figure you pull away for a bit, you book a show and you put everything into it. Those that care show up, and that could be the best show you've played in a while. That might be just enough,
Yeah.
That's my goal. I think I'm going to take 6 months off with no shows or very few shows at that. Maybe no shows. No shows is my goal. I've never done it before.
Does that scare you?
No, not as much as you think.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like impulsive. No.
Yeah.
I get impatient. I'm like, all right, I got 4 months of shows still left to book. I'm already still like reeling from anxieties about other things. It's just, it's a reality, it's a reality.
Yeah.
It's easier for some people. I know it. And I love those people. I am not one of them, but
yeah. I feel that way about people that kind of get a regular job and work really hard to become the CEO or the managing director or whatever. I look at those people, I'm like, wow, good for you, man. I could never ever do that.
Yeah, your sacrifice is reputable. Like I was once basically married. I was common law with a lady who was in middle management for a sunglass company and based out of Italy or something like that. And it was just like she worked so hard for those people. She made a lot of money and a lot of opportunities opened up. But it was like the sacrifice was as much as being on tour, having full time, no time.
Yeah, and you're doing that all for somebody else.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. So I almost think like it's kind of nice that musicians at least have that thing. So all we need to do is find a way, and then it's a means to an end. We can just keep playing because all I need is a tree and a place to sit, and I'm happy. I'll play for me.
Yeah, yeah.
A couple thousand shows I've played for people. I can still play for me. I mean, that's the main part.
Yeah, as long as you still enjoy that piece, right? Because that's the most important part. That you
Amen.
Still, you'll still just pick up the guitar and just noodle for fun.
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Every day.
What do you do when you're not being a musician? What's the downtime, or is there any? Is there none? I imagine there's probably not much. Yeah.
There's too much. There's too much. There's so much time where I'm just being a lazy, useless person, where I should do something else. And so I watch a lot of documentaries. I do a lot of messing around with the guitars I play, like the pickups, the setups. I spend a lot of time tweaking stuff, mixing different types of pickups and, trying out different sort of live things. And then I work on cover songs, and then I practice technique, and I go and take a nap, and then I'll watch a documentary and do it all over again. It's a pretty humble lifestyle. I do play a lot and practice a lot now, but if I'm gigging a lot, I don't practice very much. But if I'm only gigging once or twice a week, I'm playing almost every day, just screwing around, jamming, like playing a little lap steel, a little resonator, a little bottleneck,
just to make sure you keep loose, much like an athlete would,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at this point, this is the first time in my life where I'm not feeling like it matters so much if I lose my edge a little bit, because we're getting into the summer months, so it'll be busier for me upcoming than it has been in the past few months. So, my chops will get back into gaming regardless. It's just, sometimes you got to let that go, man. Just be like, oh, it's cool to be human.
Yeah.
It's not, that whole it's all about me thing. It's when it's not. It's like maybe it's just maturity or lack of testosterone.
Yeah.
I just feel like the last 60 days that I drove across Canada were the last that I'd ever want to do that. So
yeah,
so, I don't know.
Well, you and I are the same.
Maybe I mean. Yeah, we're the same age, yeah.
Yeah, so we both have that same thing of like, because for me, the main part I didn't like was loading the gear into the car, driving for an hour and a half, setting up, tearing down, keeping my eye on my guitar so nobody steals it while I go grab a drink, and then tearing back down and everything smells like beer, and then driving back home, and that's the parts that I really didn't like. So that's part of the slug too, isn't it?
Yeah, bad drivers, shitty weather, traffic jams. Jeez, you name it, man.
Yeah. And those are the things why people show up to work grumpy, but you have to show up to work and be like, "Hi, good evening, I'm Sean." You know, you can't be
and it's like all of a sudden my 2-hour drive turned into a 5-hour drive, and I'm 2 hours late, and it's not nobody's fault but the accidents that happened, and it's just like shit. Yeah, and it's like you can still be late for a job doing that, but I've seen like a judge late for a wedding because of that kind of stuff, and just remember having to play all those extra songs for so long, and it was just like, I hate this gig. Like, I never enjoy doing weddings. I played a few weddings that were fun. I think 2 that were a friend of my sister's, but I've just never really been a wedding guy.
Right. Because that's that's the worst case scenario for a crowd, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, a bunch of people that expect you to do something. That's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
The guitarist, I like you to stare at me with open deer eyes, like, "Oh, what's this?" and then just enjoy or get lost.
Right.
I mean,
but don't acknowledge that I'm a musician and tell me you expect something out of me. I don't.
Yeah, there's the best musicians I know that make the best money, at least, are usually playing in wedding bands. But that's like a gig. That's a job. I mean, you sign on to that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no sick days.
No.
So.
I mean, so one of the best acts that I know around here. They're called the Chicago Blues Brothers, and they're obviously a Blues Brothers tribute act, I should say. And they're an awesome rhythm and blues section. They're a great band, but again, like you said, that's kind of a job, right? They're singing the same set list a couple nights a week, which is amazing for them. But I don't know if I could get into that whole thing. I don't know.
Well, I've done it. I've tried it. I mean, it's basically what I do right now. I mean, you can do it for like 12 years and then go, I don't want to do it right now. Right. And then maybe a year later you'll want to do it again. I mean, playing covers is fun. I got to be honest. Playing originals and playing covers can be tiring together. Playing all originals is fun too, but then it can also be kind of ridiculous. It's like, man, there's so many good songs out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just want to be entertained. So you got to know, like, you've got to be open enough to just be able to put your spin on anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had to learn that lesson the hard way by going into gigs like that and trying to play like all originals, you know, and then leaving going, that crowd sucked. No, it's because you're 21, you're 20 years old or whatever it is, and you just played 7 original songs, asshole. That's the problem here, you know. You have to learn that lesson, I think, and know the difference. But and then I've done cover sets that are an amazing time. Many of them at the Boathouse, you know. So it's one of those things. Do you have a favorite type of gig? Is it the all original night or?
I like a mix.
Yeah.
I like a good mix. I like a quiet audience that lets me play anything I want.
Yeah.
That's most gigs. Most places don't even hire me now unless they know that it's like just a no request hour. It's just like I'm doing what I do. Yeah. But if I can open up with a couple of Robert Johnson tunes, play a couple of my own, play a couple of covers, take a break, like that's my favorite. I mean, to me, it's all a show's a show. I don't really differentiate like that. I'll play the same songs anywhere. I mean, I hate when I feel pressured to focus on one song more than another.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably why I don't have a hit single.
It's well, I mean, you deserved one with not My Baby, because I still know all the words to that song. So
there you go.
You know, it's one of those things. You definitely deserve one there. I mean, the new record as well, and Juno nominated. So I think you'll stick to it. And I will. I know you're taking the alleged break, but as a fellow artist and a fellow musician, I'm not sure. You think there's a part of you that'll end up tapping out of that sooner than you'd like? What do you think? Do you think the niggling bug will be in your head?
I know it'll be there. I'm sure if the longer I go without playing, the sooner it'll be that I release something again. Mm-hmm. So either way, I think it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you won't be playing and maybe writing and noodling at home. You're just not going to be releasing and quote-unquote gigging for a little bit, you know.
Absolutely.
And those
gigs, not going to waste it on no more. I'll make money another way for a little while. Just to kind of read it up.
Because you can dip back into the hot tub and reappreciate how nice it is. That's a terrible analogy, but hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I get it.
I mean, I know you'll get that moment when you come back, because when I hadn't played for a couple of years, and then I did a comeback gig we did here for charity, and I played on my own for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And the next day I had the bad back, the claw hands, it was bad. But that gig, I had so much fun. The small crowd that it was were into me, and we were having a great night together. That was what you're in it for, and that was just such an unbelievable night for me. So it's those once-in-a-while things, isn't it? That, you don't have to post that anywhere. That doesn't have to be a posted gig, a shared event. You can just turn up somewhere, probably, like for a friend's gig or something.
Well, those are the best. You just turn up and make magic happen. Yeah,
and those are, again, I think it's part of that no expectations, right? You just walk into a room and people are like, who's that guy? You set up your guitar, you start playing, and then you get the deer eyes, and then you got them, and that's when you're in for a good night.
Absolutely.
I think for me, a memory of someone who could do that as well as yourself, especially at the Boathouse, was Mr. Paul McLeod.
Rest in peace.
Absolutely. That for me is, especially growing up in that era, that just breaks my heart every time not every time I think of it, but you know what I mean. Every time it comes up again, it breaks my heart all over again, because what a guy, what a songwriter, what a performer. And one of those ones that he'd come into a room sometimes and people would be looking, and then for me, my personal experience, he had me within like 2 minutes. I didn't know him at that time, First time I heard him play, I was blown away, and he had a lifetime fan in me. So, may he rest in peace, of course. I didn't mean to end on a downer. It was just that Boathouse memory
it's all right.
path.
We love Paul.
Of course. It was just
memories are good.
Absolutely. It was that beautiful era of the Boathouse. If we'll end up with this. If you could go back to then to, Not My Baby, Folklore, Sean Pinchin, what advice would you give him? I love this question because I heard Will Smith once answer it really well, but some of that sativa was involved, and I don't remember what he said, but I know it was beautiful.
Yeah. I would tell myself to relax a lot more and not let the fact that I'm dealing with chronic hand pains at that point in my life, and stress, and a lot of the illnesses and a lot of the issues that I suffer from now, I manifested during that point. So I would tell myself to chill the fuck out, and that I'm going to get better regardless if I just stick at it, because the time will add up, and you're younger than you think, smart ass.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I think we were all kind of the smart asses back then, weren't we? Because we were going to change the world,
you had
damn it.
You were doing okay.
I mean, back then I used to see my name on a poster. All right, so I don't know what anyone else was doing back then, but I was on a poster. Damn it.
Yeah, I know. Now it's like, everyone's on a poster.
Right? I mean, everyone.
Social media.
Yeah, like we said, everyone's on Spotify. Literally anyone can release a single. Yeah. It's not magic anymore. It's. But I think that's part of the reason why me personally, I'm excited to get back in it in that sense, or to actually release, because I've never actually professionally released anything. So I'm excited to just finally do that, other than YouTube videos and MySpace. We could have been a big deal on MySpace. I booked many a gig through MySpace back in my day.
It's probably still there somewhere.
Oh, that's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
You must have that. Do you feel that way about looking back at old releases? Because I know I hear old stuff of my own.
Oh, I love it.
And I go,
I love nostalgia.
And you squeak and you.
Sure, man.
Yeah. Or do you?
I listen to old stuff all the time, and I'm like, man, I always hear what I was going for, and I can always appreciate it. I think the longer you take away from listening to something, the more you like it.
Yeah. Do you ever get tempted to pull back one of those old tunes and record them?
Oh, now? That time, yeah. I play them. Sometimes I play them at home, and I'll just start playing one, and I'll stop halfway and go, I don't feel it. Or I'll finish it and go, that's cool. Like, I still do You'd Say Maybe sometimes, and that's probably it. But who knows? Who knows what the future might bring? I think the next record might be old Sean Pinchin Mach 2, so
can't wait.
I'll keep you posted.
Excellent. Listen, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Hey, anytime. I really enjoyed it. Really nice to catch up as well. I always love doing these things, especially with somebody that I've crossed paths with personally, in real life, as they say. So it's really cool to do it.
Yes.
I'll post all your social media details. And as I say, I know you're taking a short break, but the music will always be alive everywhere that you can get music. So I encourage people to check it out, find it out, and listen to the whole journey. Go all the way back, just like MattLees did, and come all the way through to modern day and have a listen. And by that time, you'll probably have something new released. So thank you. All the best of luck. Continued success to you and happiness. And we'll catch up again soon. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Next time on MattLees Gets Creative.
These
roughly the same time as House of Pain, Jump Around. So we had a song that was a kind of bouncy jump around party tune like that. And the record company thought it wasn't, they thought it was a bit too rap, a bit less, but not pop enough, it wasn't melodic enough. So they did a remix of it, which was a lot more musical. And we were kind of, not sure about this. And they said, well, you're going to have to remix it again. So we spent the last of our money remixing it a third time with a producer who the record company suggested. So they did it. Record company heard it again and went, no, we don't like it. Put something else out. And we said, we've got no money. We've got no more recordings. And they went, okay, we'll just terminate your deal. And that was it.
Thank you so much for listening to MattLees Gets Creative. If you've enjoyed the show, please tell somebody. Leave a review, leave a rating, share. Follow us on social media at ML Gets Creative. Consider checking out our Patreon program. We're trying to give back a little bit at a time. And as always, thanks for listening.